Hello and welcome to episode 48 of the Long Shot Podcast. I am your host, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here virtually with my good friend and co-host, Davis Patrick Reed. Davis, how we doing?
Hey, Dunk. I'm great. It's sad. We're virtual. We had a good little stint last week in New York, but we're back to our respective homes. Actually, you're not. You're on the road.
Yeah, I'm not in my respective home at all, but we did have a good stint in New York. It was great to be in person. We got a great interview for you with the Pardon My Take guys. Had a really good time at their studio. It was just fun to chop it up with them. They're good people and obviously have a massive show. So it was nice to collaborate with them a little bit. I had fun. I don't know about you.
I had a great time. We also got to see the Barstool Studios, which was a whole production. They had a green room for us, waters upon entry. Really just took care of us. I think what it did is it gave us a vision of where the Long Shot Podcast needs to go.
It's interesting that the waters are what really caught your attention.
Yeah.
It was like a media conglomerate with like so much production going on, and you're just taken back by the fact that they had waters for us. Good to know. That's good to know. But anyways, here's our interview with those guys. Or not interview, conversation with those guys. We certainly had fun doing it, so we hope you guys enjoyed as well.
We also should point out that this is part 2 of our conversation. We went for about an hour. Part 1 airs on their podcast. It's out now, so you can go listen to it now. This is the second half of that conversation. And part 1 was definitely more tailored to their style, Dunk. Like they're just grilling you about hot topics, some controversial topics, just putting your feet to the fire, which is what they do masterfully, honestly.
No, it was fun. We did a little home and home, like you said. We basically did like an hour plus of content and split it up. First half on their show, second half on ours. So hopefully we're adding some PMT people to the community as well. So if you are here from the first part and you listen to PMT, welcome to the Long Shot community. A little different, but some similarities. There's definitely some crossover there. I think you'll enjoy us. Maybe not to the same extent or in the same way, but I think you'll have an appreciation for what we're bringing to the table over here at the Long Shot.
If you listen to the Pardon My Take, the first portion of this interview, if you didn't, go listen to it. I just alluded to it, but we roasted Davis the name. Oh, no. So Davis Mills, obviously, for the Houston Texans. When he started, we were like, dude, Davis, like, what kind of name is fucking Davis? So Jake here is going to read you what we said, so that way it doesn't hurt as much.
So this is a quote from Big Cat in the September 20th episode of Pardon My Take. I don't know if I'm going to offend anyone who is listening to this podcast right now, but if you name your kid Davis, you're just asking for him to be a douchebag. And then there was a meme, everyone named Davis listening today. Do you know who my father is?
Yeah, because I think we basically were like, Davis, if you name your kid Davis, you're like, this guy is going to end up being like a high-priced lawyer or a hedge fund manager and just being a total asshole.
Wow.
Or a podcaster.
Or a podcaster.
I was gonna say,
no,
but podcaster, it's like you're on the train. Like eventually you'll stop doing the podcast and then you'll go to law school.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say it was always nice growing up not knowing other Davises.
Yeah.
It's a unique enough name.
Well, I think in Kansas City, you probably had to live in like more like, like San Francisco or LA or like Brooklyn.
I never went to school with another Davis.
Really? Okay. I feel like they're all douchebags. Not you, though.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You're an underperforming Davis. You're a podcast host.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But
you're not in the club. Yeah, you're not invited to the Davis barbecue.
That might be worse. Like, I'd at least be part of my brotherhood.
Yeah.
Stick with the gang.
All right, so you guys, I mean, we can just keep talking. We can ask questions. You can ask questions.
No, let's just keep it running.
Yeah, we'll keep it running. Yeah. Like, I guess I did want to ask, and I was waiting to do it on this side of our interview, is like, how long you guys been doing the podcast? A year?
A little over a year.
Yeah,
how has it gone? And we're not telling you that pros, but we are. You
guys are the real deal.
How has it gone? Like, because I know it's a lot of people are like, oh, let's just do a podcast, and then they realize, oh shit, it might not be as easy as like everyone makes it out to be.
It's been a positive experience, a net positive, I would say. I will say there was some naivete on the front end of like kind of what goes into it. But with that being said, Davis has handled a lot of the legwork, like behind the scenes, all the prep stuff, which has been amazing. We don't quite have the conglomerate that you guys have.
Yeah.
have
No
rolling
green
there.
room yet.
no
we're
green
working
room.
on a green room. So we'll hopefully get that in place here in the next couple weeks. But it's honestly, it's been good. I think for me, the thing I've enjoyed the most about it is having something off the court that I've like kind of been able to like lean into and have a little bit of an identity off the court and have people kind of understand my personality. And, you know, I'm not a huge like social media guy. Like I'm not like going around sharing my stories and doing that sort of thing or like showing people what I'm eating for lunch. So like for me, it's a cool opportunity to just kind of share a little bit about my life and then also talk to like really interesting people. People give me shit because I ask a lot of questions. But it's just generally because I'm a kind of curious person.
What about in the locker room? Is anyone like, oh, you gonna say this on your fucking podcast? Because I that probably was a fear, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've kind of like learned and grown through is like finding the line between like what's shareable and what's not. I think it's like kind of clear cut. Like if somebody shares something that would be like clickbait or like a headline, I'm not out here like trying to do like gotcha stuff. But with that being said, like this is something him and I always go back and forth on is like I'll say something that happened. He's like, dude, that would be like so great. And then we like kind of have to have that dialogue about like, all right, but do we really want to do that? The best case is like when guests come on and they just share, right?
Yes.
Because then we're kind of like, you know, hands off, whatever. But yeah, it's been a cool experience. I mean, one of my favorite things has been honestly just being able to do it with him too.
How did you guys meet?
Go ahead.
We went to prep school together.
Oh,
Which I know is
Davis.
that's
There's
Davis.
Davis. He's back.
Hey,
He's back.
Davis. Come on.
There's
Which I think
Davis.
the prep school thing might going back to the Davis being a douchebag thing.
So you guys are
Doesn't
two
bode well for
prep
us.
school white guys with a podcast.
Long and it's called the long shot. We are underdogs.
This is where the fifth year of high school comes in. Is we did 1 year prep school, so I think that gives us a little bit of
Okay,
maybe
yeah,
not, but
yeah.
well, you know, we
It
were
was for
post
basketball.
Yes.
but yeah, it is. We actually joke a lot about just like long shots. We're like two kids from very comfortable upbringings.
Yeah,
you know, it's
maybe
like,
not long shots.
Yeah,
That's funny.
but-
I think I'm actually the opposite of a long shot.
Yeah.
So you guys get together, start doing the podcast. What was like the biggest hurdle or the biggest obstacle that you didn't see coming? That when you started the podcast, you're like, this is gonna be easy, but then you realize, wait a second.
I got two things for you. One of them being the rift in our friendship, and I'm curious if you guys have gone through this. Of like, you know,
Me and Big Cat kiss every year on January 30th
Yeah.
and 31st.
I've been pushing for that.
That's how we
actually.
keep it spicy. Yeah, it's
But
like our
like-
anniversary.
it got to the point where like he would call me and I was like screening his calls because it's like I don't want to talk about the podcast.
Well, you work together now.
Yeah, exactly. It changes.
Yeah.
It changes the dynamic of everything. And we've had, I should say, it was just a riff. We had a little stretch where it was like, you know, kind of wearing us thin. But
Made us stronger.
Yeah, we've worked our way through it at this point.
I think that's similar to when we talked about in the first part of this podcast on our show, like the idea that a locker room, like everyone's hanging out all the time. I think that's what this is, where when we spend time together, we actually really enjoy it because we're like on the road, very similar.
Right.
But when we're home, it's like, all right, we're done working. Like I'm gonna go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have kids and everything, or like everyone's got their own lives. So that's I think it's very similar to a team like that.
Yeah, and that, you know, the other side of the challenges that you were talking about is the guest getting, like booking guests has been a nightmare.
Really? Why?
We've got somebody that you could use. Probably we've been dying to get her off our hands.
Big Mike.
Mostly just because I've realized that coordinating schedules and times with particularly professional athletes, that's been a lot of our guests, is just an absolute nightmare.
How was the process with me?
Fantastic.
Okay, good.
You were like top tier, as easy as it comes, and like super flexible, which I
Okay.
appreciate. But actually, we wanted to ask you guys of like, because you guys do what, 3 episodes a week?
3 episodes a week.
I don't even. We do 1 a week. We do, what is it, like 40 a year or something like that. So it doesn't even end up being 1 a week. But like, I don't understand how you have the guests lined up, the product, like everything. And I imagine you have obviously you have a team. I'm looking at a team, but like it takes some of that off your shoulders. But still,
Yes, when we first started, it was all on us. So it was, you know, based on our network. We would DM people, would text people that we knew, in the industry. Whoever like was making news, we'd take a flyer, try to reach out to them. So that was a big part, and that was it was tough for like the first year or so, and then we started to get the booking process wrapped around the show. And we were joking earlier about Kelly. We call her Big Mike as a joke, but she's been very helpful. Peggy's been very helpful. So we have people who are actually dedicated to doing that.
Right.
Also, it helps that this is like, despite what we look like, Big Cat and I don't play in the NBA. We're not professional
Yeah, it's
athletes.
our job.
No.
So this is our job, and it's all that we
Yeah.
think about. So
Right,
when it
yeah.
comes to getting a guest, if there's always a chance that either me or Big Cat or Hank or sometimes even Bubba has gotten a guest for us recently too.
Great stuff.
Like
Bubba.
someone's probably in the orbit of somebody else's universe where we could reach out to them that way
Right.
if our guest bookers can't do it ourselves. But that's honestly been a very helpful thing that we've had, is having people whose jobs it is to just get us guests.
And more than anything, like you said, when we were conversing and figuring out a time, our flexibility is a huge asset because this
Yeah.
is our job.
Right.
So it's like
You can
it's
coordinate
like,
an
hey,
entire
we'll
day
do it
around
whenever.
interview,
Yeah,
right.
like this is our job. We don't have anything else doing. Like we'll come late, we'll come early, we'll do whatever we want. So
Yeah. I also got to imagine, I mean, you guys are massive. So, like, people are probably coming to you also.
yeah,
In terms of,
for
like,
sure.
promotions or whatever. Somebody has a TV show
Or like a
whatever, booked.
podcast
Or
that's
a
struggling.
podcast. You
A
know,
lacrosse
Yeah,
league.
with like a
Yeah, exactly.
How often are you
you walked into that one.
how often
It's
are
not
you,
struggling.
yeah, this is us.
Yeah.
How often are you turning guys away? Like, are there people that you are consistently
I had to
trying
tell
get on?
Nick
on.
Adams
Yeah.
to fuck off earlier today. You've probably seen him on Twitter. I was obsessed with him for about 6 hours. He's the guy that just goes viral because he's a great troll. And then he took my endorsement very seriously and was like, I will get on the next plane and fly to New York City.
No
Yeah,
way.
he's
And I
been
was-
tweeting me about Tim Tebow nonstop.
The guy's just an elite troll.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, mate, because he's Australian. He's like, oh, mate, it's a pleasure to get the endorsement of the greatest of all time, the Twitter trolls community. And then he took my endorsement super seriously, and I had to
Yeah.
take it away from him.
Yeah, it's actually funny because it's more now in person or not. So we'll mostly take almost any guest in person because in person is just always better.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that's-
Zoom,
yeah.
we've gotten a lot more selective because it's just a different vibe. It's just difficult to get the same type of interview on Zoom unless you know the person.
Like,
Like-
we wouldn't make the Zoom cut. We,
Yeah, no, because we
just
know you.
made
We've
an
had
appearance
you on.
because we just happened to walk.
No,
Yeah,
you would have.
I think
You
it
would have
would
made it
work
because you've been on.
That's
We would definitely have you on like during the NBA playoffs.
Right. Davis would not have made this.
No,
Yeah,
no
chance.
chance.
Yeah.
And with athletes, though, especially like ones that travel here, well, if they say, let's do a Zoom interview, like, we'll just wait till you're
Yeah,
here.
right.
Like, if you
Right,
guys were
right.
trying to do this on Zoom,
We would have just been like,
today,
let's
would've been
wait.
Like, let's wait till you're
Let's
here.
wait.
Yeah,
and
right.
do
But
that.
you would have made the cut. You make the cut. Recurring guests, people who listen to the show, who know the show. Then Zoom isn't. It's more like Zoom is hard to bust balls back and forth and have it
Yeah.
fully convey where it's like, hey, we're not actually trying to be mean here. Whereas in person, it's like we can unload the clip,
Right.
like like you used to do with Myers Leonard when you would play. What was it, Call of Duty or something?
Wolfenstein,
Yeah.
probably.
See, we would have made that joke on Zoom.
I will say we've definitely experienced how much better the content, the banter, everything is in person. Like
Yeah.
Zoom, there's always that like awkward pause of like, who is someone talking over somebody else? Is it my turn to speak? Especially when you get 4 people in,
Right.
in a
That's
Zoom
ve-
chat.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a nightmare. It's like, how do you
Yes.
even keep track of this?
So let's say I'm a rookie in the NBA right now, and I got 2 invitations. One is to go on your podcast. The other is to go on JJ Redick's podcast. How do
Featuring
I
Tommy Alter.
featuring Tommy Alter,
Yeah.
good friend. Shout out Tommy. How do I decide? Sell me on your podcast.
Ooh.
It's a great question. I love JJ, so I'm gonna preface.
Okay, so I'll go on JJ's then. Thank you for the endorsement.
I love JJ. I think I would start by saying I'm an active player. I kind of have a
Mhm.
pulse of the league because I'm in it still. Obviously, he's newly removed.
He's one of these old guys.
Yeah, I don't want to come at him, but like I will say that, and then also, and this is something so our podcast started off under JJ's umbrella of 342 Productions, and we had a great experience with them since we've kind of moved away.
Oh wait, you're not on there anymore?
No,
They got the bag.
How messy was that?
it wasn't. That's the thing. Like,
Oh,
JJ
that makes sense now because I saw JJ on the street on Monday. I was like, Duncan's coming by, and he was like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I actually had dinner with Tommy. Now that you mention it, no, I'm serious. I think it was last Thursday night, And he was like, "Hey, just so you know, I've seen because it was also in Dumbo,
Right.
And he was like, if Duncan's walking around, it's on site.
Yeah. Right.
We had dinner with
We
Tommy
had dinner
last
with
night.
Tommy last night, so it
Oh.
didn't appear to be on site, but maybe it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like we had a great experience with them. But even when we were going through the process of like creating our show and how we would differentiate from them, it was like we would kind of be a younger demographic in that sense. Like he early on, like he was getting older players, kind of like guys from his generation played against in high school, like all those types of stories. And for me, I'm still 27, so like I'm a lot older than a lot of the league. But like with that being said, for me and us, it was easier for us to tap into like, kind of like a younger. So if you're a rookie,
Yeah,
as you said,
you're closer.
with a very promising future, I would imagine. I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
to come on a long
JJ's
shot.
basically an AARP right now.
Mhm.
You're at least in the same age bracket.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that though, because I think I would personally look at you like a younger guy in the league. But is there a difference between what have you noticed culturally between like your generation as a 27-year-old and the guys who are brand new to the league, like 20, 21?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm like young in the league in terms of years, right? But like I do feel like I'm older than a lot of and I am older than a lot of these guys coming in. I think that like, and I'm not trying to be like one of these old heads or whatever complaining about like this new generation, Instagram, blah, blah, this stuff, TikTok, like, but I do think that all that stuff has had an influence on a couple things. One is play style. If we want to talk like on the court, like I do think that younger players, there is like this excitement around that clippable moment, right? Like a crossover, a dunk, whatever it is. I think that kind of there's been less of an emphasis on just like straight winning.
Right.
And it's more about that. And then the other side of it too is like everything off the court, because guys have hundreds of thousands of followers on these different platforms. It's like, okay, they now say, well, this is a business opportunity. I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to do this and that. And this is coming from somebody who I post like strictly ad content on my Instagram.
I love that. I love that.
Like,
It's like
just strictly
you know
ads.
what you're getting when you sign up here.
Yeah,
You can't
exactly.
complain about another ad because that's
No.
literally all this is.
That's all it is. But like those younger guys, like the fit picks, the drip, like all that sort of stuff, the tunnel picks, like that, I think is even more elevated for this younger generation because it's been like glorified and talked about even more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like actually, funny enough, I think JJ had like a viral moment last year when on his podcast he was like, "Oh, you know, these young guys in the league care more about getting a fit pick off on IG than they do about winning." I'm not going as far as that. There are really good young players in the league that care a lot about winning, but I do think that culture is like more privy and pushed towards that type.
Because they grew
engagement.
up with that in their environment all the time. Like
Yeah.
you're probably of the age where you saw the change occurring,
For sure.
but kids that are coming into the league right now, that's all that they've known. So that's the world that they're in,
Yeah.
that we built for them. It's always funny when old people complain about younger generation. They're like, look at these kids. They're just interacting with the world that we made them live in
Exactly.
the entire time.
Right. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
I always think that like, and this is something I stole, it's not an original thought, but like social media is the market's response to a group of people that just want to perform all the time and want to have them feel like they're the center of the universe
Yes.
and it's their world and everyone else gets to like view and spectate.
Mhm.
Now, the interesting thing is especially when you're a high school kid and you're deemed the next whatever, great basketball player, great football player, you now have this crazy following at such a young age. And it's like, yeah, if I was 16, 15 years old, like when I was 16 years old, I was sitting on the bench in high school, like not checking in games. These dudes are like already anointed first round picks. It's like, how are you supposed to, as a kid, like deal with that? That's a lot coming at you.
I always, if like we meet a bunch of different athletes, and any athlete that has been famous, like known since they were 17, 18 years old, I'm always like, I don't begrudge them for being a little different. Because like, how could you possibly be just a regular person when you've been in a fishbowl at like your most formative years of life? So it's anyone who's been famous for that long. It's like, dude, you get a break from me.
I think there's a trust issue there too, where if you become famous at a young age, then you spend your entire life not knowing why people are getting close to you, why
Right.
people are friends with
Yeah.
you. A girl that you meet, what she knows about you, what her motives are, that sort of thing. Where if you have a point, like if you have to like work towards it, as you get into adulthood, at least you've got like a circle of friends. Like it sounds like you two have that like relationship from
Well,
before it happened.
I saw the potential.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were hanging out in the gym, like
Right.
scouting out the best players. All right, I'm gonna buy this guy lunch this afternoon. We're going to
Yeah.
McDonald's on me.
I think you absolutely make a good point in terms of when it comes later. I think you're able to have perspective over how fickle it is and how like ridiculous looking it is. Like, okay, now all these people want to take a picture, want to do whatever, just because whatever. In my sense, I can put a ball in a basket. But I'm curious for you guys because you guys had like a later career trajectory than an athlete. I'm not saying
I was
like,
actually the greatest Christmas tree salesman and soccer referee at a young age, so I've been living in that fishbowl for
I
a
love
very
that.
long time. Yeah.
But like what his because now like you guys are and your faces are everywhere. Like everybody, I joke because I just look like I'm a little bit taller, but like I look like a very just normal guy. I think last time I was on your show, you said I had an incredibly punchable face, which I took like somewhat as a compliment. But like for you guys are incredibly like everyone you have the big bus. Like everyone knows when you're coming into a place. How has that changed like your perspective on?
Well, it's been like it's been a slow evolution, so we didn't have to deal with the. First of all, I think we're famous on the internet, but like fame versus, you know what I mean?
I
Like
don't know,
being
man.
famous on the internet versus being a fucking NBA player is different in my eyes. Very different.
Here's how it usually goes. If somebody recognizes us, there's always a good amount of them that will like recognize us, and then they'll be like maybe with a girlfriend, and their girlfriend will have this face on like, who the fuck is that guy? Then the guy will turn to the girlfriend, and you'll see him explain to her who we are, and then she'll get even more disappointed. She'll be like, oh God, and roll her eyes.
Oh, the guys I listen to while I'm showering.
Yeah,
God damn it.
exactly. Yeah, that's kind of hot though, the way that you put
Yeah,
it.
right.
Bonk. No, I don't bonk.
No, you don't bonk. But it's been, I guess I consider myself to be like a C+ list celebrity at this point.
But in terms of the evolution, it was the way that Barstool's grown, the way this podcast grew a little bit faster in terms of like from day 1 to day whatever 100. But like I know in terms of Barstool, it was such a gradual thing where it's like, oh, a couple people like recognize me at the bar. Oh, a couple people recognize me at Wrigley.
Right.
Oh, okay, now a few more people, and then so it's like the adjustment was built in.
Yeah.
Where like I don't understand people who go from like they're in a movie one day and now they're a superstar.
Whole
That
world
is in,
changes.
or they have a hit song. That I don't know how they would deal with because we had. I mean, it's been 10 plus years for me where it's like, and I still don't really feel. I think also we're so accessible that the fame doesn't feel as real to people and to us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
people see us every day.
Well,
They read us tweet every night. You know
I
what
was
I mean?
gonna say that's part of your guys like when you listen to TMT, you feel like you're in the room. You
Right.
feel like so I'm sure people come up to you and that like they think that they know you.
Correct.
And like that do you feel like a responsibility to engage because it's like this is our
I like
community?
engagement.
I don't
You
look
do.
at it as a responsibility at all. Like if somebody wants to take the time to come up and say hi to us, and part of my take is a big part of their life, and they feel like they're part of that conversation, to me that's an awesome thing to have. Like I try, above all else, I tried not to take that for granted at all, because a lot of people that have been in this industry for a long time never get to that point, and it's very meaningful because I had those kind of relationships when I was younger with different people I would listen to on the radio, where I'd feel like I was part of their community or part of like their show. I was really invested in it, that sort of thing. I think that's a really special bond that you can develop. It's very strange because they're not in this room and we're not actually having a conversation with them, but they feel like they are. But I think that's a good thing that they have. I think that that's a net positive that they're able to like connect with a show in that way. That's actually a very constructive thing. So I never try to I never feel a burden. Now there was like a few people at the Super Bowl in LA that would come up and they'd do the thing where they'd put their arm around you to take the picture before they'd even say hi.
Yeah.
And they'd like come from behind. So I didn't
Like
even
a
see him
sneak
coming.
attack.
And I was just getting like roped around the waist, and I turn around, there's a camera there. It's like, hey, like you can ask if we can
Right.
take a picture first.
It's our dialogue.
That's cool.
It's only the only two times that I get like I don't get upset. I'm just like, hey, I'm doing if I'm with my family or if I just lost a bet and you know that I lost that bet, and you're coming over to talk shit. Then I'm like, fuck you, dude.
So that's interesting because like we, outside of every game, or even when we go into hotels, right? There's always people outside asking for autographs, and it's not necessarily, definitely not for me. It's mostly for like Jimmy or Bam or whatever. But like, particularly after we lose, obviously, or if I don't play well, it's like I have to fight. And I'm not always going to like sign stuff or say what's up or whatever. But if someone says my name, I always try to like have that perspective that you're talking about
Right.
of like, all right, this is the least I can do, and if this is like a meaningful moment for them. But it's hard to do that.
It's
when
very
you're
hard
in that
sometimes,
mental state.
but you have to know it because it's like you're living your life, and that person sees you for 60 seconds. That's
Right.
So they take that, and that's what they think of you forever. So it's like
Exactly.
absolutely, like that's what I said. Like I love it. It's also very cool to be like, oh shit, it resonates because when you see people and they recognize you, it's like, oh, like people are listening. It's the tangible thing offline where you're like, yeah, this actually people like us. This is cool.
We've had a couple moments in Miami where actually Davis gets recognized
Yes, let's
Nice.
go,
as
David.
as a co-host of the Long Shot, and it was like, I think it was actually All-Star break last year. We were probably a month into the podcast, and somebody pulled up. We were like walking in Midtown Miami. I don't know if you guys know Midtown, but we were walking around there, and somebody pulled up and pulled off to the side. Is that Davis Reed of the Long Shot podcast?
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was just like, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It happens so infrequently that it's still awesome. Every
Yeah.
time, you know.
It's
like,
going
I'm
to
not
happen a lot
even-
more now.
Yeah.
Actually, people are going to hear this and be like, you know
That's what I'm
what?
saying.
Yeah.
There are probably people walking around Miami all the time be like, yo, was that Davis? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like him.
Fuck, is that
I
DR?
think I've seen him wearing that hat before. Is that the D-man?
Yeah, it's definitely still at the point where it's it's happened 10 times. So it's I understand how it's overwhelming for you
Yeah.
guys, but
What questions do you have for us, Davis? Anything?
I really wanted to dive into your guys' NBA tiers
Oh,
because you were speaking of recurring guests.
Yeah.
and this guy made the list.
he did.
As an
elite
elite
threes.
shooter.
He
Yeah,
just,
elite
showed
shooters.
me that on the way.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. You made the list.
I appreciate
But
that.
I just
Yes.
want to know how much is there a lot of debate on these, or is it very clear to you guys where each of these?
Well,
players belong?
I need to make a few edits on that one because I've got one or two qualms. Memes does that. Memes he's our tier guy.
Got it.
And he's just our meme guy in general. So,
Yeah.
do you guys have a meme guy?
No,
you need one.
You should get a
it
meme
seems
guy.
like something that would be worthwhile.
We're also like just getting. So our sports schedule is like football. I love college basketball, so I watch football, college basketball. Now, once football's gone, it's like, all right, like I watch the Bulls, but I don't really watch the rest of the NBA. So now I'm diving. Like I didn't know you sucked at shooting this year. So now I'm diving in. So yeah, we'll have some adjustments as we go here.
How do you feel about the Bulls?
Yeah.
I think they are. Well, they're awesome to watch. It's so much fun to have a team that's like good. And DeMar DeRozan's been in like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people shit on that trade, and they were like, "Oh, that's paying too much," whatever. He's been incredibly so much fun to watch, and it's like perfect to finally build something around Zach LaVine. I don't think they're gonna win the title, but it's like not about that right now. It's more.
Right.
I like what the Bulls did, and Duncan, you could tell me your thoughts, but like the NBA, I hate how it's a lot of times contending or tanking, and there's not a lot in between.
Yeah.
And the Bulls have basically when AK came and took over the Bulls, he was like, okay, instead of like when the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler, it's like, can you win a title with Jimmy Butler as your number one? I don't know, maybe not, but let's fucking like maybe we should try it. We didn't.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Right. Zach LaVine's the same type of guy where it's like, can you win a title with Zach LaVine as your number one? I don't know, probably not, but let's fucking at least put some pieces around him to.
You don't think they're good enough to win?
Not this year, probably. I think they have a couple like their defense has been bad ever since Caruso. Shout out Caruso.
Shout out Caruso, former guest of the Long Shot Pod.
He's the man.
Alex Caruso.
He's the fucking man. I
Do
think
you
their
have any of
defense
his NFTs?
struggles. And
What's
and
that?
Do you have any NFTs of Alex Caruso?
I don't think I do.
You're
Maybe
not a
a
real
top
fan.
shot.
You're not
Maybe
a real
top
fan.
shot.
Then. Yeah, I got the top shot.
You got a
I-
top shot moment.
I don't know how they're gonna guard Giannis or Embiid in a series. That's
Yeah,
the biggest issue.
the matchups
Right.
get a little tricky, and that's obviously what so much of playoff basketball is about is how you match up.
What do you think about the Bulls?
I mean, I was interested to hear you say that they're building. I mean, obviously Zach has been the staple in Chicago,
Right.
But like, I think everyone would agree that DeMar has been better
Oh, absolutely.
here.
When I say that, I mean
You mean
they
more
went
like
and got
we're
Vooch.
bringing in guys?
They got Vooch who he can play off of,
work.
who
Okay.
who can spread things out. They got a point guard who doesn't need to shoot in Lonzo.
Right.
Like those type of moves. I agree. DeMar's like, I don't know, third in MVP vote. Like,
Yeah, no,
if
absolutely.
he did it right now. So he has been better. But Zach is the young piece that
For sure,
you're
yeah.
trying to see, like, hey, let's actually put the correct things around him and hope
See
this
if it
works.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chicago's really good. We played them actually or I think we'll have played them tonight, the day this release. I don't know when we.
You guys got to figure out when to
Yeah, we
release
got to
this
lock in
podcast.
on that. It's
No,
gotta
I
be
like
better.
that. I like that. Keep it scattered around.
Yeah, ambiguous. You know,
Yeah.
keep
We
it
should
on
just
their
give him
toes.
bad advice on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
I
would
can
love
never
some bad
reach.
advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really good. I think that just the pieces they do fit in terms of like play styles. I think it once again, like I think they're good enough to win. I think it just comes down to matchup and who you play and the route that you get and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, they're tied with us right now for first in the East.
Yeah.
And they haven't even been fully healthy.
No, they
you
haven't.
know,
They've
for
had
a lot of
actually
the
a lot
year.
of stretches. It's
I'll
just
also say we haven't been fully healthy, but
we've played
whatever.
some of the top teams and gotten our ass. So that's part of the.
I just saw the stat 1-11.
Yeah, like there was that
against,
stretch where like the Bucks killed us and then the Warriors killed us. It was like, oh man. So that's I think they'll win a playoff series, maybe two, maybe even get to the Eastern Conference Final. I'm not gonna delude myself and be like, yeah, they're gonna win the title this year. But I'm also so pumped to watch a team that's fun to root for, and like very excited. Does DeMar DeRozan guarding him? Does it fuck you up a little because he doesn't shoot threes?
He is super unique to prepare for it because he just has such a different game than everyone else in the NBA right now. Like everyone's trended towards threes and layups, and he's proven that you can still be super effective and basically shoot all non-paint twos. And like a lot of people thought that with the rule changes that him not getting fouled or wouldn't be able to get to the line the way that he has, and he's still found a way to just be super productive. I think he plays the game with a ton of skill. But
Yeah.
Are you a Wizards fan?
I'm not. So my policy about the Wizards is I will not let them occupy any real estate in my brain until they are above a number 5 seed in the playoffs. And it's been a good policy for me.
They were looking pretty promising there early on.
Yep,
this
I
year.
had a lot of people being like, "Hey, Wizards, you need to start showing the Wizards some love." And I mean, I grew up. I went to Wizards games. I watched them on TV. But I've just seen enough of this team where I know that there's absolutely no point in paying attention to the Washington Wizards until it's playoff time and they're a 4 seed or above. And until they reach that point, it's going to be the same story over and over again. So I guess I'm jaded. I'm about as jaded can be on the Washington Wizards.
Does that then? So say they ascend to that point, maybe not this year.
Then I'm all back in, and I'll
Are you-
pretend like
does that
this
make
never
you like
happened.
like a bandwagon fan? In that sense?
Yeah, but I
That's
think
not a bad bandwagon
it's-
fan. You're
yeah.
just honest.
I'm just being honest about
Right.
it. Like there's actually no reason for me to pay attention, or anyone for that matter, to
Anyone.
pay attention to the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
There's just not. It's like I would say that they're right up there with the Kings for the most irrelevant team in the NBA and one of the top 5 most irrelevant franchises in sports.
Wow.
And I know it sounds mean when I say it that way, but I'm just being honest, and I don't think that you can't really point at anything that would prove it wrong. Like John Wall, he was great there for a while, but they never really put anything cohesive around him. There's always like Wall or Beal, who are you going to build around? I mean, going back to like we had some great teams back in the 2000s where we had most of the Pistons on our squad. The Pistons that would eventually go on to be like Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, all those guys. But there's really been, outside of Michael Jordan, no real reason to pay attention to them.
That was a
recently.
great run, Jordan in DC.
It was a great run.
That was a
Also,
good time.
the name sucks. Like Washington Wizards. It's like I don't know, it sounds like a 90s cartoon or something.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
I have a question for you. It's a little bit on the serious side, though. Like when you're doing the podcast and you know that it's the trade deadline's coming up, and there's some rumors that involve your name out there. How much conversation were you having with the actual like front office of the Heat? Were they telling you anything? Were they like trying to reassure you, like, hey, these are rumors, it's not true? Or were they like, hey, there's a possibility that we might make a move? And if so, like, how much were you willing to trust them in the conversations they were having with you at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because there's not necessarily direct communication between myself and the front office, right? Like I'm not, going in and talking with those guys Pat, Andy, Adam. Like I'm not direct sitting down in office. Now, what it tends up being is like kind of a game of telephone, right? Like through my agent or whatever. And I've now been in basically every trade deadline. I'm in rumors. I don't know why or what. Like, or like when the Harden stuff was going on last year, it was like that. Tyler and I were in that all the time. And then at the deadline again, I was in it, and the deadline this year and earlier this year, all sorts of stuff. So I've gone to the point where like I've kind of learned how to differentiate like what's noise and what's actually legitimate, and also like who to listen to, because you got to be selective over that stuff. Otherwise, if you're just letting everything come in through your ears, it's like you don't even know which direction to look, right?
You should demand a trade. Flip it on them.
That's an interesting tactic.
Yeah. Don't let them trade you before you trade yourself.
Well, I think your name comes up a lot because you're definitely one of those players that if there's a really good team, you can always be like, they're adding an excellent shooter on the outside, and everybody be like, that's a perfect move.
Yeah.
You're like an upgraded pot sweetener where it's like when you add Duncan Robinson, no, people are like, oh, okay, this is nice now. You know what I mean?
Well, it's actually interesting because last year I was still on my like basically first deal. So I was like really considered great value, right? So I was like a really big asset in a trade in that sense, like, you know, we might trade this person to like fill the salary, but then we'll throw in Duncan as, you know, whatever, a bonus. This year it's changed because of my contract where now
How much is it worth?
Now I actually become like part of the trade talks because I can help match salaries, and it's a different way. And also like, that's the other side of it too. I'd like to think is that will always kind of have some sort of value because I can shoot, and you know, the line is that every team needs more shooting,
Shooters,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, in that sense, how I've been talked about in trades has also changed, which has been interesting. But once again, like I listen to my agent, what he says, and he's does a really good job of like differentiating. Like he's not going to tell me a tweet that somebody did, or he's not going to do this or that. Like if somebody that has a meaningful opinion or has any sort of like power, so to speak, says something of value, then he would relay it. But otherwise,
do you
it's like,
want us to fight for you online? We can.
I would love that.
No, because
Yeah.
it sounds like you are similar to our friend Blake Bortles, who like he doesn't go online. We'll fight those battles.
I would love that.
Okay.
You guys could be on the front lines.
Yeah,
'Cause you
no,
guys have
I'm happy
a
to.
lot of credibility in
Yeah.
those spaces.
So tell me, who's your biggest enemy? Who do you want us to look at?
It's a great question.
Like
The
you're not telling
The
us.
rim?
Do you have any candidates?
You're not telling us to attack, but just like someone.
No,
who
it's
should
eye out.
keep
Like,
on
yeah,
our
is there
radar.
any talking head that's just like Davis
Here's-
can
So here's the social media thing that bothers me is like, there are people that have opinions that understand that like their tweets or whatever, if they're inaccurate or misguided, there's repercussions, right? Like some people
not us.
have built up enough credibility, but like
You talking about Woj or like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
Woj bomb or
Right.
What are we
Yeah.
calling the sham sandwich?
Yeah, sham sandwich. I think
So, like,
Shams.
Shams bombs.
Yeah,
those,
Shams bombs,
those
yeah.
guys aren't gonna like tweet out, you know, the Miami Heat are involved in whatever. Like there's rumors of this deal. Like they see what is real and they tweet it. What bothers me is the speculation on like limited basis.
So you're talking about Jordan Schultz.
You know what's funny?
I like Jordan. I think
I'm just kidding. I'm fucking with him.
the fascinating thing to me about Jordan is like, he's in every circle,
Yeah.
or at least seemingly. How do you spread your tentacles that?
Also, if I were him, I wouldn't work. So, like, credit to him. I always am like, he's grinding. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Why are you doing this? But yeah, no, he works hard. So I know what you're saying though. Like people who they like dip their toes in reporting.
Yeah, and then like the other side of that too is, you know, people with relatively uneducated opinions, not like taking any shots here, is like, oh well, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's like, no, not necessarily. Like just because somebody tweets it, even with a blue check mark or whatever, that there's rumors, this, that, because they always have deniability of, oh, you know, well, there were talks, there were things, but they ended up going a different direction or they died down. It's like, who even knows what's what?
So who is that? Who are you talking about there? Was that Bill Simmons?
There's nobody like direct. And then the other
We're
side.
trying to help you,
now, to be
dude.
fair, I'm going to stand up for Bill Simmons here. If he does like a who says no to this trade, and he includes your name in it, he's not actually saying that you're going to be
That's true.
trading. He's just
That's true.
He's just asking who says no.
Correct.
Yeah, that's just like whatever podcast banter, like
Yeah.
speculative.
Yeah, podcaster's code. You should respect it.
Yeah, 100%. We're all part of the same fraternity here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I don't. There's nobody exact. The other side of that too is like that bothers me is to just straight up Twitter eggs that like just spew.
Okay, we can handle those
I
guys.
no,
That's
I
like-
love burners.
Yeah, we can
I
handle them
absolutely-
though.
Well, burners is one thing, but it's just like when you're actually, it's not a burner. Like it's your identity, but you have like 50 followers. or
Yeah,
whatever.
we got those
And-
guys.
and
we got those guys in our back
Yeah,
pocket.
that's
we can
easy.
put them
And you're like-
stuff them in a locker.
Honestly, we've talked about this. I feel like a certain level of like empathy of like what happened in your day that incited you to go onto the internet
Correct.
and say like disparaging things
To
about
be mean. Yeah,
somebody
just show
else,
up and be
yeah.
like, I'm gonna be fucking mean.
Yeah.
I think everybody they have to have an outlet in their life to get angry at, and some people just don't have anything, and they don't have somebody. Maybe they have a boss that's overbearing. They're not
True.
allowed to speak up. Maybe for whatever reason, they just don't have an outlet for their aggression. So they just log online and they're like, "Oh, this motherfucker went 5 for 17. All right. I know where my target's at tonight. But you can tell us offline who the real targets are.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
And then we'll go after them.
But it sounds like
for you.
you're on the side of the Twitter egg because you just kind of like justified their
No,
actions.
you have to put yourself into the head of your enemy
Got
to
it.
defeat them. Sun Tzu said that in The Art of War.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
We had some defund the long shot pod campaigns
Ooh.
Yeah, we
going
did.
around. Not to go back to the slump.
I was
but
gonna say we're just
when the
really
5 for
hammering this
17s
one
were
up.
going on, it was pretty dark.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
damn.
I'm not taking the side of them. I'm just saying that, like, most of those people, if you saw them in real life, they would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it, Duncan Robinson, I'm your biggest fan." Like they'd be
That's
happy
the
to see
thing.
you.
Yeah, 100%.
We're gonna take care of these guys for you.
5%.
What else do you have for us, Davis?
I have one last question.
Okay.
It's a new segment I just made up. It's called Dinner Table Thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
We talked about this last night at dinner.
My grandfather, Hitler, and who's the third?
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. That's
Okay,
who I would
perfect.
invite. Yeah.
Myers Leonard. Oh no, you already said Hitler.
No, we talked about this last night. I'm going to move on. We talked about this last
Okay.
night. If you could read a book that told you
And out. We're
how
out.
the rest of your life was going to play out,
Okay.
how the rest of your life was going to play out. would you-
Audiobook.
Yeah, it's
You
not,
can
it's
listen
a
to it.
it's a color, it's a picture book.
Okay. It's
Okay.
a podcast. Yeah.
Would you flip through it?
Oh man, what a question.
So we actually had this conversation yesterday, and I think this is not me and Big Cat, but me and Billy did. And the conclusion we came to is that it would be good. I would want to know when I'm going to die and how I'm going to die. Maybe like a month before it happened. I don't want to know this far in advance. Like, let's just say hypothetically I die when I'm 79 years old. I don't want to know now, but I would want to know when I'm 78 years old so I can get my affairs in order at the last second.
So you're storing the book away.
Yeah,
for a while.
you start doing the bucket list stuff right before it happens. You don't want to I think that would fuck me up because I'd have too much time to think about when I'm going to die and what's going to happen. So I like the spontaneity. I like being confused and surprised all the
I think
time.
that's fair.
So I would hide the book and then I'd pull it out every now and then and flip to a random page. I'm just being honest. Like, this is what I do. And they'd be like, wait, stop reading this. Stop reading it. So, and it would be fucked up because I'd be like thinking about it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to see how and when I die. But yeah, I would probably just flip to, like page 88. Oh shit. Okay. Like, you got audited that year. That sucks. Make sure you take care of that. Like, something like that. Like, I would do, but I don't think I'd want to see how and when I die.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Both good answers.
Imagine if you open the book and it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna die when you're fucking in 2 years from now.
But then at least you know. You can maximize.
I don't
the-
know, man.
No, again, I think like 1 month in advance so I can book a trip to Iceland.
It'd be
I can,
such a
There you go.
I can
downer.
go, I can go
Yeah,
scuba
that's
diving
true.
off the Galapagos and just be an absolute dickhead for the last month.
Right.
Get my will in order, all that shit.
That's
Tell all the
fair.
people that I hate how I feel about them online.
There you go.
I think where we landed was it's unrealistic to live every day like your last. That's not sustainable. But if you knew
Gary V.
that fair, Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
But if you knew you had 2 months, you could just go. You could do whatever you wanted for 2 months.
Yeah. That is true. I'd probably just keep doing the podcast.
Right, but
Yeah.
come with a
Keep
will.
I would
train
just
moving.
I would just up my betting units responsibly.
There
Right.
you
Well,
go.
you
Like,
wouldn't
well,
have to be that responsible.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, I have to say it.
Do you
Actually
have
run your podcast now.
do you have any any locks of picks? I know this is like what you guys do, but like whether it be
No, we're
NBA
experts. Yeah.
or any NHL maybe. Like, is there any like
I
pick
have-
that you feel really good about?
Do you still watch college basketball?
Yeah.
I have Kentucky 25-1. I got in December. That feels good.
Wow.
That
Like in
looks
terms
good.
of value, that's the
Yeah.
only. I never do that. I never
That's
am
good
able to
value.
get that.
What incited that? You just
I just
it?
watched them.
You're
It's
like,
yeah,
this
it's
team's
pretty much.
good.
I was like, oh yeah, these guys are fucking good. I
These
like
are
Ty Washington.
Yeah, he is good.
And
Yeah,
then
he is.
do you think that Wisconsin has any chance for a deep run? Or are you gonna be like, oh, Brad
no, I think they
Davison?
do.
Was Brad Davison a junior when you were a senior?
Yeah, he was.
You definitely played against him, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I think I played against Brad for 2
You've been
years.
in the league for 4 years.
I actually hosted Brad on his visit to Michigan,
That's funny.
which is pretty funny. Then he obviously went to Wisconsin. But yeah, Wisconsin legend. My goodness.
Yes.
He's got to be like
Oh,
first in games
all
played,
everything,
points,
3-pointers,
everything,
yeah, everything.
right?
Yep.
Definitely charges taken.
Yes.
that's for
Mhm.
damn
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I think Wisconsin's good. I mean, I think their play style is like built honestly not necessarily for tournaments. I think it's more
Why?
like I just think the way that they play,
They don't blow people out.
Yeah, you can get beat like
Yeah.
on it on any night. You know what I mean? But like you're gonna be throughout the course of a year, you're gonna be really, really solid. You're gonna, handle your business, whatever. I think they're good. I don't think honestly I'm not like tapped in as I should be, but I don't think or like final.
That's
Sorry. Who's your favorite Wisconsin player of all time?
Who?
Frank Kaminsky.
Well,
Sam
so
Packer.
Frank and Sam, I'm friends with now,
Yeah.
but like actual like guy I thought was gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
You probably don't even know it. Brian Butch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he was a McDonald's All-American, which was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
He's like a 7-foot white dude from Wisconsin who made McDonald's All-American, and we had another white dude. I can't remember his name. We called him the Polar Bears, and it was just so fucking. Wisconsin.
Where do you stand on Tyler Hero?
Uh,
Decommitting and then
and if we're being honest, he wasn't smart enough to get in. What are you gonna do? That's the lie. That's the lie. Every
That's what
time.
Wisconsin
Oh,
is?
every time. Yeah, like Diamond Stone was from. I think he's from Milwaukee. He went to Maryland, and we all were like, yeah, his SAT suck, and they must have paid him Under Armour money. I mean, you cope. You find ways to cope.
Find a way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to close this because like you technically opened it, but now this is on our show.
Yeah.
Can we do
That's
an
the
ad
beauty
on
of
your
it.
show?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go to betterhelp.com/PMT for anyone who thinks about smushing someone in the face in a handshake line. Go to betterhelp.com/PMT.
Roman
Or//long
swipes.
shot. I think
Yeah.
we've done some.
I think
better
done
we
help.
better
I think we
help?
got better
Yeah.
help.
Okay.
Do you guys do
Yeah.
Roman?
We don't do
No.
Roman.
We just got a request for Blue Chew.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It was funny.
Yeah.
We just had Carissa Thompson and Aaron Andrews on the show, and I realized when we were doing the ads for it going into it, it's like, hey, do you guys have trouble lasting long in the bedroom? Well, tell you what, this next interview with Carissa Thompson and Aaron Andrews is brought to you by Roman Swipes. That was a little bit awkward.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's just a coincidence.
we'll come back on any time. This is a lot of fun. We
I
you
appreciate it.
guys. This is me doing the professional job of actually ending.
Yeah, we don't know.
sports
what
Do you,
we're
like
do
that.
you want to pick
Yeah.
a number in the lottery machine?
Oh yeah, let's do that. That would be
pick a
fun.
number.
People actually would love that.
I definitely do. How does this work?
All right, so
You just pick a number.
At the end of every show, I bought this lottery machine. It was like $1,500 from China, and I was like, I don't know what we'll use it for, but it will be
It's a great
a
asset.
good asset. Yeah, right.
Number
It's the
71.
Duncan Robinson of lottery machines.
Number 71
Do I
is
have to
out.
Stand
Great
up. What do I
asset.
do?
No, you just pick a number. Everyone picks a number, and if you get it, we literally just don't do anything.
No,
We
you just
say
win.
Congrats.
It's bragging rights.
All right, so
So-
you can't pick 35, 28, or 71 because
Yeah.
those balls are out.
All right, I'm gonna go. What's like the? What are we up to here?
1 to
Literally
99.
just picking a number.
One
dude.
55.
Maybe Jimmy Butler was right.
I gotta go. I gotta go 55.
55. What about you, Davis?
14.
14. All right, Hank's got 2.
I'm going to go 11.
I'll go 22. Yeah, it's
Come
really
on.
stupid. People love it though because they guess along with us. So we'll tell everyone
Yeah.
we did a lottery number on your show.
This thing looks legit.
If one of you gets it, 99.
Oh.
Wow. Jake's our statistician. So
I don't know if that counts.
no. Third time. It would be the third time.
Wait, Davis, what'd you
I don't
pick?
think we should
14.
count that.
Oh, 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we don't have to count it. No,
Run
let's
it
count
back.
it for them. Let's
Run it
count it
back.
for them. This will count
All right.
an official part of my
Come
take.
on.
Put one
Stats.
asterisk. Put an asterisk next.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow,
come
hey,
on now.
damn stickler. All
Well,
right,
no,
well,
it's-
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
That was great.